Good morning, friends. Welcome to or welcome back to Willow Creek Homestead. My name is Kenzie if you are new around here. And today we have a long list of breakfast items that we are going to be preparing together. I have a confession. Breakfast is not my favorite thing to make. I much prefer just slow mornings and already having it done for me, but life has been so busy we have been forced to make breakfast every single morning, and that just doesn't work for my schedule. Breakfast is one of those items where it's a must-have for me in the mornings. If I have breakfast, I can make it through lunch and without dinner, no problem, but making it every single day is quite the hassle. So I have pulled out a bunch of stuff. We have a lot of stuff left to pull out as well for all of the breakfast meals that we are going to be making together. And just to give you a quick rundown before we get started, we are going to be doing sourdough discard pancakes 3 ways. So we'll do them plain, blueberry, and chocolate chip. We are also going to be making some breakfast sandwiches with bagels and egg muffins, breakfast burritos, a ton of French toast, and then there's 2 new recipes that I am very eager to try. One is a croissant breakfast casserole with ham and a blueberry cream cheese casserole. I had never heard of either one of them, but they sounded absolutely delicious. So I think the 2 new ones are the ones we are going to get started with, and let's go ahead and get to it. So for this first recipe, you will need 1 package of croissants, and basically we are just going to cut them into 6 to 8 pieces and then cut those into 1-inch pieces. And then we top this with cheese, eggs, ham, and all the good stuff. And apparently this bakes up very, very well. So I'm very eager to try it. In the photo, it looked just like very browned and really, really good. I've never made freezer meals where it calls to pour like eggs and stuff over it before you cook them. So hopefully all goes well. But like I said, in the recipe itself, this looked absolutely delicious. So if it cooks up okay, this will definitely probably be one of our go-tos because my family and I love having just these kinds of things ready to go. And then ham and croissants, you can't go wrong with that combination. Friends, I am going to go ahead and pull out 1 more of these because it said that you need to layer it, like each layer. And to me, that doesn't look like enough. I know these will expand once they bake, but I am just going to go ahead and put the extra one in here because my husband went ahead and bought 2 and we might as well get it used up. And I think instead of layering them, I'm just going to go ahead and coat the entire bottom with this instead of having multiple layers of the croissants. And then I will put the ham and cheese over it and the egg mixture. But you can do it however you would like. Okay, so there are all of our croissant pieces. And then I went to the grocery store the other day and I did not buy diced ham, but I do have 2 pounds of just regular ham here. So we are just gonna cut that up and use this. But if you have diced ham, that is what it calls for. And then basically you're just going to go ahead and put that ham over top of the croissants. Okay, so there is what that is looking like. And I am not using like the recommended measurements for these things. I'm just kind of winging it, but I will leave everything down below for you. Okay, and then the next step is to just go ahead and cover this portion with your cheese. I am using Colby Jack, but I think the recipe recommended to use cheddar. But sometimes I just like the taste of Colby Jack more than I do cheddar on certain recipes, so that's what I'm using. And it said 2 cups, so that is probably pretty close. Okay, so the next part of this recipe calls for 10 eggs, a little bit of a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and cream. And then that is it, and we just pour it all over the top. And I did go ahead and grab out a bunch of eggs. I actually had to go buy eggs, believe it or not, for the first time in I don't even know how long, because I sold 5 dozen the other day, and I completely forgot we were doing this breakfast prep. So I really, really hope that we have enough. But if not, we'll just go get some more. My girls have been laying like crazy for me, which we are always very appreciative of. And I'm just putting the eggshells right here in this other bowl for like a discard bowl so that I can put them in my compost or give them back to my chickens. And I'm going to go ahead and start with 7 eggs instead of 10 because my girls' eggs are like absolutely huge. So I think that some of those count for 1.5 eggs. So there is a little bit of our Dijon. And then it recommended to use cream, but I don't have cream, so we're just going to use some half and half. Get a little splash in there like so. I almost forgot, friends, we also need salt and pepper. Okay, so then once you have this nice and incorporated, all we're gonna do is just pour this over the entire top. This looks so good, friends. Like once it's baked up, I am very, very excited to try this. So now that that is all finished, that was really quick and painless. We are just going to cover this with 2 layers of aluminum foil. Now, it did recommend to refrigerate it, but I'm not going to refrigerate this. If you would like to refrigerate it for a couple hours before freezing, you go right ahead. I'm not going to worry about that. And I don't think that this is going to last very long in our freezer, but I am going to go ahead and wrap it with 2 layers of aluminum foil just to be on the safe side. And then once you have that done, we just need to go ahead and label this up. So this is our croissant breakfast casserole. And we need to bake at 350 for 20 minutes covered and 10 minutes uncovered. All right, and one is done. So the next one we are going to do is the blueberry cream cheese casserole, which sounds absolutely amazing. And it called for 1 loaf of French bread. I just went to my local Amish store, you guys, and they didn't have any like fresh baked bread at the time that I went of a day. So I just went ahead and picked up a big loaf of white. And basically all we're going to do is just start cutting this into cubes. So very similar to the ham croissant recipe in the way that we're going to make this. But if you don't have like a fresh loaf of French bread, not a problem. And again, I think instead of layering this, I'm just going to put all of like the ingredients one by one. So we will start with all of the bread. And I really do apologize about the delay of last week's video, friends. The weather around here has been crazy. I don't know how it is where you guys are, but every single day that I check my weather app, it changes. So like I will plan something, and then the day that I look at the weather app, it's supposed to be raining. It just has been crazy around here. But eventually, I promise, we are going to get out and do some really fun things in the garden. And I already started on some really cool fun things that I can't wait to show you if the weather would ever cooperate with me. Okay, and then the rest of this bread, we will go ahead and turn into French toast. Once you have all of your bread placed on the bottom, we are going to go ahead and start cutting up some cream cheese. It calls for 8 ounces, but I still have some cream cheese left in this block, so I'm going to go ahead and get this used up first, and then we will pull out another block. And it says that we need to leave these in chunks as well. So just try to cut the cream cheese into little cubes. And then once you have cubes cut, you're just going to go ahead and evenly distribute them all across the bread. Okay, so that's what that's looking like. And then after you get that done, you will need blueberries. You can use fresh or frozen. I just happen to have some frozen blueberries in my freezer anyway, so that's what I'm going to use. But if you have fresh, you can substitute that as well. And we are going to need roughly 2 cups. And there is that portion. I am envisioning this on a Sunday, a slow Sunday with some maple syrup over it after it's been baked. Oh, I can only imagine. This looks absolutely delicious. So I bet it's going to be really, really good. Okay, and then similar to the last recipe, we are going to start off with some eggs. So it says 8. This is a pretty big pan in comparison to the last one. So I think I am going to go ahead and do 10 just to be on the safe side. Okay, once you have your eggs in, go ahead and do a splash of milk, cream, or half and half. Then it looks like we also need some maple syrup. Again, I'm not measuring, I'm just winging it, but it will all be down below for you. Vanilla, salt, and then just a little splash of cinnamon. Not too much. I think it says 1 teaspoon. And then go ahead and give this a really good mix. And then we're just going to pour this right over the top. I am so happy that I went with this recipe instead of the other one that I had found. I will keep you updated on this one because this looks absolutely amazing. And I already know my daughter is going to love this. Okay, and then this is blueberry casserole. And same thing as the last one. We're going to bake at 350 for 20 minutes covered and then 10 uncovered. Easy peasy. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to move on to is the breakfast burrito filling. I'm going to go ahead and let some onions, peppers, and carrots start sauteing over here. And then we are going to incorporate that in with a bunch of other ingredients, but this can be working for us while we're working on other things. So I'm just going to go ahead and add just a splash of olive oil. And then I made my life a little bit easier last night by cutting up the peppers and onions. And then I also had some leftover carrots, and I thought, why not add some extra veg and get them used up as well? So we are just going to go ahead and throw in both of these containers, and then this can start working for us while we go do other things. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled my griddle out here. I'm going to start letting it get up to temperature, and you know what else? We need to give it a little spritz here. And we will do that back and forth each time that we go to flip these. But the next thing that we're going to get started on is some French toast. Since I already have this bread out from the last recipe, I have another one up there. And French toast, much like pancakes, is just awesome to have in your freezer, especially whenever I have kiddos over, like a bunch of kids, just being able to pull out French toast or pancakes or waffles or whatever. I just love having tons of it in my freezer for those occasions. So let's go ahead and get our mix made up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with some eggs. And we have a lot of French toast that we're going to do, so we are going to do a lot of eggs. And I always either make too much or not enough, so we'll see if I can get it right on the money this time. Let's go ahead and start there. And then we're going to do a little splash of half and half. Salt. Some vanilla. Lots of vanilla. And then some cinnamon. Okay, and then once you have all of your mix done, all we're gonna do is start soaking this bread. And I do let it go ahead and just soak up the mix for, I don't know, maybe like 30 to 40-ish seconds. Make sure it's really, really good and coated. Texas toast works the best for French toast, but if you can just find like the white, it's not a big deal. I just tend to feel like French toast really soaks up the egg wash mixture a little bit better, but just use what you got. And then depending on what type of bread you use, you guys, if it's like this really thin, cheap bread, it wants to rip apart really easy whenever you start soaking it in the egg wash. So instead of doing them all at the same time, I think I am just going to do one by one so that these don't start to rip. Okay, and then once these are done, I'm going to go ahead and put them on the plate, but we are going to go ahead and use the bag to just put them all back in. I can't remember who I saw doing that on YouTube like several years ago, but it was the most freaking genius idea I've ever seen. So now instead of wasting like Ziploc bags, I just reuse the bread bag and it works perfect. And then as I'm taking these off, I'm just going to try and make sure that I put some more on so that they can all be going at the same time. And then our breakfast burrito filling is just about done over there. Or not the filling, I'm sorry, the onions and green peppers and carrots. And then we will assemble the filling and we can do that at the same time as this as well. I'm not perfect at being the most efficient, but whenever possible, I do try. I try to at least have a couple things going at one time just to kind of maximize it because it can be a lot on days like this, doing several different recipes. Okay, so I almost forgot the sausage. I did probably like 1.5 pounds actually because I processed that myself. So I think I did about 1.5 pounds of sausage in here with the onions, green peppers, and carrots. This is all cooked up. So the last thing that we are going to do for our breakfast burrito filling, and hopefully this does not overfill my skillet, but I got a bunch of eggs mixed up in here, again with just some, I missed one, with just some half and half and a little bit of salt and pepper. And we are just gonna pour this right over top. And I am going to go ahead and add just a bit of garlic salt on the top. Feel free to add whatever seasonings you want. Some people do even like hot sauces and things in their breakfast burritos. We've done that as well. It's always really good, but you can season these however you would like. Okay, friends, so the breakfast burrito filling is done. And then the next steps could not be any easier. We are just going to get some tortillas filled and wrapped up. You can incorporate cheese into the mix. I always just top it on the top. This looks and smells delicious. And use burrito shells or taco shells, whatever you would like. But we're basically just going to take some of this filling here and get it situated right in the middle. And hopefully we could get quite a few of these. I'm hoping to at least get one full tortilla shell container used up. And we are just going to sprinkle with some cheese. This is the most tedious part, is wrapping these up, and then we're going to wrap them in some plastic wrap as well. But I just take both of the sides and bring it in and then tuck the top and just roll it and kind of stuff all of that in there really, really good. And they do tend to be a little bit messy. But then once I have them rolled up, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap them in some plastic wrap. And then I like to stuff them in a big Ziploc baggie. You can freeze them individually just like this as well. I just think doing it in a big bag works much better. But there's one all done. And then whenever you are ready to eat them, just go ahead and unwrap them, and you can heat them up in the microwave for like a minute, minute and a half, still frozen, and they de-thaw wonderfully. So very, very quick and simple on the go. Okay, friends, that took me a second, but I got it done. So I did get a pack and a half of tortilla shells, so that's awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and label a freezer bag with breakfast burritos and just the month and year on there. And make sure that you are putting them in a freezer-safe Ziploc bag. But the next thing to do, or what I like to do anyway, is just go ahead and get them in here. And then I will keep a couple of these breakfast items like in our freezer that's inside, and then the extras go out there. But I always like to keep some things in here so that we don't have to go out to the garage every single time that we want it. So like the breakfast burritos, for instance, because these are pretty easy to just grab and go, these will all stay inside with us. Holy moly, you guys. I didn't know if I was going to be able to fit them all in there. But there's all of those done. That makes me so happy. And then the next thing is the French toast. So I was just letting it cool down on the counter. And again, we're just going to use the bread bag like I said. Go ahead and get these all placed in here. It's also especially nice for us to have breakfast items already prepared because we do camping a lot in the summertime. And I do enjoy just sitting around the fire and making a fresh breakfast anytime we go camping. But if we have like a lot of stuff planned, or, you know, we're doing a bunch of stuff while on vacation, sometimes we'll just bring our already prepared meals with us too, which helps a lot. And of course, I threw away the little twisty thing that goes on the bread bag. But then here is all of our French toast. So then the next thing we are going to get started on is our breakfast sandwiches. And I was originally going to make these with some bagels too, but just so that I can just use these containers and focus on the stuff I already have out, I think I'm just going to use these English muffins instead. So I am going to go ahead and start getting all of these toasted on the griddle here. These are not going to come apart easy, are they? What in the... These are a bit messy, friends. English muffins is something that I need to learn how to make from scratch. I am very tired of buying them. I've never tried to do it, but I assume they're probably relatively easy. If you guys have a good recipe, let me know. And if you watch my shorts, I post daily shorts. You guys probably saw that I baked a sourdough loaf for the first time the other day. It was a discard loaf. It wasn't like an actual sourdough loaf, but it was a 2-hour sourdough discard loaf, and I think I'm gonna do an actual like full video on it with you guys here very soon. But I was so proud of myself, friends. It came out like really, really good. So it inspired me. And I think this like summer and stuff, I'm going to really, really prioritize trying to do like fresh breads and all of our bread products so that we don't have to buy them, because we spent a lot of money on that stuff. And with my sourdough discard and everything, there's really no reason that I should be buying that stuff at the store. Oh my goodness. Oh, about took my toes off. Good thing I wasn't standing right there. That would not have been good. Okay, so I'm just getting the tops and bottoms of these toasted up real quick. And then let's go ahead and grab out a plate to put these on. And these don't take very long to toast at all. I just want just a little bit of extra color, and then we will get them off of here. Isn't this little chicken cup cute? My friend got this for me. And I haven't been brewing my coffee at home. I don't know why, but I just have been buying it at the store. And I'm like, I gotta stop doing that. So my husband got me a new type of coffee. It's like just a black regular coffee, but it's really good. And then he got me a Chobani creamer that I've never tried. It's caramel macchiato. And oh my gosh, so yummy. Okay, so I got all the English muffins off. And the next thing that we are going to do for our breakfast sandwiches is we're just going to start making everything else. So I'm going to do sausage and ham. So we got to get our sausage shaped into patties. And this is sausage that I make every single year. I just buy a bunch of pork and do like big batches of sausage. You can also do like the leftovers from pork tenderloins if you make that. And it just works out really, really good. So these are, I think, about 2 pounds each in each package. So we are just going to start flattening these out into little patties and getting these cooked up. And I am greasing this and wiping it down in between each step. Make sure you clean it off really, really good. What I would really like to get is a Blackstone. If anybody has one of those and you like it or would recommend it, let me know, because I just feel like having all that extra space outside, doing like preps and things like that, or, just cooking regular dinners and stuff on it would be so nice. So if you have one, let me know what one you recommend. I know they have several different ones that they make and manufacture, but I'm seriously thinking about getting one. And we have 12 of the English muffins. So I'm going to do 6 in the sausage and 6 with ham. And then this leftover sausage I will just use for dinner. We'll come up with a recipe to use the rest of it with. And then because these ham pieces are really, really big, I am going to go ahead and rip them in half. See how big that is? Way too big for our sandwich. I'm just going to rip it like so. And your ham pieces will not take long at all if you're doing ham. We're basically just letting them get some color on them and then taking them off. Okay, so I went ahead and got off all of the ham. Our sausage is still cooking, but let's go ahead and get some eggs going. Look at all these eggshells from today, you guys. That's so many. Ooh, yuck. That one's no good. Ooh, that one's busted too. Yuck. Don't want to use those. It is a good thing that I went and bought some more, though, because we definitely would not have had enough. And then I would save this egg carton, but it's gross on the inside, so we'll get that pitched. And we do prefer our eggs sunny side up, but in the breakfast sandwiches, just so yolk doesn't go all over the place, I do tend to cook them pretty thoroughly. But while we're waiting on the sausage, we can go ahead and assemble some of these ham ones. So let's get some pieces on here. And I do clean my counters each time. I swear that's all I do during my cooking days is clean my counters religiously over and over and over. I know these look browned, but it's because I didn't wash it off before doing the eggs from the ham. So after I flip this one, I am going to give that just a wipe down real quick. But if anything, I guess it's just extra flavor. If you have a problem where your eggs or like your meats and things are getting really browned, I just go ahead and scrape up all of those bits and then take a damp cloth and just kind of re-wet that surface a little bit and get that brown up off of there. Be very careful not to burn yourself while you do that. Like so. And then I just go ahead and spray some Pam and rub that back in. And then we shouldn't have that problem. Okay, so I got all the ham ones done and wrapped. I am just waiting on the sausage to cook, and then I will do those. Here are all of our ham ones. You just assemble each of them and wrap them in some plastic wrap, or wrap them in whatever you would like. And same thing with the breakfast burritos. Heat them up for like a minute to a minute and a half, and breakfast is done. And then I am just going to get them put in a baggie here. And you see how the yolk kind of exploded on this one? I thought I got it cooked all the way and I didn't. It's really good on a breakfast sandwich, but I prefer to cook them all the way through so that you don't get yolk all over your hands whenever you unwrap these. So just be aware that they can be rather messy if you don't cook the egg all the way through. Okay, and then all of our ham ones are ready for the freezer. Okay, so I got all of the sausage breakfast sandwiches over there done and wrapped. And then I went ahead and made a triple batch of sourdough discard pancakes. Now, I was going to do 3 different types, but you know what? I have all of these blueberries in my freezer that just really need used up. So I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and make them all into blueberry. And the recipe for this is on my sourdough discard video a couple videos back. I have posted it over there, and we tried them since making them in that video together. And this is my new favorite discard pancake recipe. It is very, very good. And if you have not seen that video, go back and look for it. There are several really good discard recipes in that. But if you remember, last time we made this, I made the pancakes way too big. So I only got, I want to say it was like 4 or 5 out of the entire batch. So this time, we're going to make each individual pancake much smaller instead and see how many we can get. Hopefully quite a few. But I will leave this right down below for you if you are interested in making this discard pancake recipe as well. I don't make blueberry pancakes very often because usually I don't have frozen blueberries on hand. So I thought the blueberries and this would be a really good addition since we don't get to do that very often. What are you guys up to for the rest of the week? Anybody got any fun, exciting things planned? The weather is about to break, friends. It's going to be spring here before long, and I cannot wait. I thought about adding white chocolate chips to these because I feel like blueberry white chocolate chip pancakes would be really, really good. I'm not going to do it this time around, but maybe next time we will do that. Anything blueberry and white chocolate is just like a really, really good combination. Ooh, look at that, you guys. Perfect. Beautiful. Yeah, I just think the last time that I made this, I made them way too big and I made them way too thick. The flavor, though, however, is perfect. Like, it tastes like pancakes. I can't remember the brand, but like the very traditional pancake in a box, you know, that you can buy and just like pre-mix. It tastes just like those. And some recipes that I try online, they're just not as sweet, or they don't really give like pancake. They give almost like bread taste, and I can't stand that. This recipe, however, is very, very good. Very sweet, and it tastes just like your regular traditional pancakes. Let me get you over here so you can see. Look at how like perfect the size is on these, and then look at how good the blueberries look. Ah, freaking yum. Okay, friends, so I got everything all done. The pancakes are still cooling down, and then I will get them placed in a bag along with the rest of it. But look at everything we accomplished today. We got, I think, in total 12 breakfast sandwiches, an entire loaf of French toast, over like 20 breakfast burritos, both of our casseroles, and a ton of blueberry pancakes. So all of this will last my family and I for at least the next couple weeks, which was initially my goal, is just having a couple weeks where I don't have to think about breakfast and everything is ready and already made for me. And it only took me about 3 hours to do all of this from start to finish and film it for you guys. So not much time at all. And then we have some security in the freezer for the busy mornings. If you guys have any questions, as always, feel free to leave it down below for me. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. And as always, I will see you in next week's video. Bye, friends.